G'day, Stu from the Wave Church in Ocean Grove here. Hey, we're just a medium-sized coastal church, but we've realised that we have so many people in our church family that have had their lives radically transformed for the better. So we just want to share some of these stories with you because we believe that they bring hope in a really hard time. Hope you enjoy them. All right, welcome everyone. Welcome Laura. So today we're going to be interviewing a great friend of ours, Laura Brock, and all the way from France. How's the weather there, Laura?
It's actually pretty good today. There's blue skies. I'm just looking out my window. Yesterday was miserable, so I welcome the blue skies, even though majority of the time it's like max 20 and it's summertime. So I'm not looking forward to winter. I don't know what I'm in for. I thought Victoria was bad. I think it's going to be pretty bad here.
Okay. Hey, thanks for joining us today. We really appreciate it. Hey, can you just tell us real quickly, how'd you find yourself in France? What are you doing over there? Who are you playing for?
How did I find myself in France? Well, to be honest, I was shooting for Spain and the team didn't want me, so I ended up in France. Just kind of the way it goes, I guess, with football or professional sports. You kind of reach out to a bunch of different teams, or you have an agent who does that, and then see where it lands. And I thought I was going to Spain, which would have been pretty cool, but I've landed here. God opened up a door to play for a team called Guingamp, which isn't spelt at all the way it sounds. And it's been really cool. It's been really a really good first month and a half, I guess, over 2 months I've been here. Pretty much no one speaks English, which is challenging. Today was a challenging training session. Not understanding any of the rules and getting bits of information from different teammates who might be able to speak a little bit of English, and doing most things incorrectly is very new to me. I'm like a stickler for the rules, so maybe God's teaching me something about that, I don't know. But I tended to mess up a lot today. But yeah, I'm in Guingamp, which is in the northwest of France. So I'm close to the English Channel, so I'm about 10 minutes from the beach, so I feel better about being close to the water, but it's not very good surf. So you win some, you lose some.
And hey, how's your foot going? You the foot that caused you to withdraw from the World Cup a few months back?
Yeah, I got back to playing January, so that was like a pretty hefty rehab time, the longest I'd ever been out of the game. And then because of COVID and we weren't playing and we weren't training, and I just had this really weird feeling about having a piece of metal in my body. And I was like, God didn't really make me to have stuff inside me. So if I can get rid of it and I don't need it, then I will. So when everything sort of shut down, I decided, I'll get this bit of plate out so that I can move freer. And then it sort of has had this roll-on effect where I then managed to find a team. So then everyone was hitting the ground running by the time pre-season started, and I arrive at my new team and I'm kind of holding this. It's not really it wasn't an injury, but I still hadn't run for 4 weeks because I had to rest post-surgery. Anyway, so I feel like I'm on the back foot already, but it's all right. I have the piece of metal out now, and long term, I'd rather live without that in there. So, yeah, it's good now though. I'm training fully now.
Awesome, mate.
We have 2 weeks until our first game.
Come on, awesome. Hey, I'm going to swing over to Murray Withington, and he's going to fire a few football questions at you. Go, Muzz.
All right.
So, Laura, you're a centre back. So, for most people, that's playing in the central defence. What makes a great centre half or centre back?
I would say to be a great centre back, you need to be a leader and a good communicator, most of all.
Yep. And yeah, I know you've played for lots of clubs. I didn't actually realise you played for Lincoln in England as well.
Yeah. Your neck of the woods.
You played for Orlando Pride over in the States. Melbourne Victory, Melbourne City, Brisbane Roar in the W League. So you'll have marked some of the best strikers in the W League as well, including some of your friends from the Matildas. How do you go when you're marking some of your best friends like Sam Kerr or Lisa Devana and players like that?
Most of the time, I just kind of have a chat to them. I think if I have some banter on the field with them, it might put them off because they're all faster than me and can do more damage than what I can probably. So I just kind of have a chat to them. It's really nice actually. Like you have this weird. I mean, obviously I'm competitive, so it comes with the nature of what I do. So when you get one up on your friends, it's always a bit of fun and you can have a laugh about it afterwards. But yeah, I don't know. How do I still just enjoy it. Have a talk to them like I talk to anyone.
Yeah. What would you say after playing professional football for so long? Is there a standout moment for you, the best football feeling you've ever had?
Probably the Olympics in 2016, Rio, quarterfinal against the host nation, so Brazil, and we went to penalties. So I was like wrecked. We'd played 120 minutes already and then went to penalties, and I took the second penalty and I scored. But the weirdest thing was like walking up to the penalty spot and there was 60,000 Brazilians booing at me. So that was probably the most intense moment I've ever had to deal with. But I remember being super relaxed and just kind of like taking it all in. Yeah. We ended up losing, so that sucked. But I scored, so that's probably a highlight for me. I don't score often, so.
And for a lot of people, that I call it football, soccer, for a lot of people, once you've played the full 90 minutes, there's 15 minutes each way, so that's the 120 minutes. And then your best 5 penalty takers are generally your most confident, or is it the senior players? Who takes the penalties and who has that confidence to step up to the spot?
Yeah, strangely enough, I feel like the defenders usually step up. Maybe it's because we have more of a calm head. We're cool, calm and collected, as they say. So I feel like a lot of the defenders, but then at the same time, it's like it does go off of, at the end of the game, the coach will ask, who feels ready. If you feel like you've had a bad game and you don't have confidence, then you might say, yeah, I don't want to take one today. But you kind of want everyone going in with the confidence that they want to take one, because it could very well cycle through the entire team. After the best 5 go, if it's still level at the end of that, everyone then kind of it's a sudden death. I don't know how well people know soccer, so you go man for man. So it could if everyone just keeps scoring or keeps missing, then it could end up going through the whole team. So best 5 probably, most confident, and usually they tend to be defenders because we're the most relaxed.
And you've been fortunate enough to be selected in 3 World Cups. So is there any standout World Cup experiences playing for the Matildas?
I got selected for 3. The last one I didn't actually get to play in.
Well, injuries aside.
So for me, our second one was where I played the most part in, I suppose. The first one was my first ever tour. I'd never even been away with the team, and I somehow got selected. I don't know. God had a path open for me. So I only played, I think, 15 minutes or something that entire tournament. But I was just gobsmacked the whole time. Like, we were in Germany, so it's like football crazy nation. And there were people outside our hotels all the time, like crowding around the bus every time we went to a game. Like, the crowds were phenomenal. So that was like just a first experience taking it all in. But the second one was where I played like every game, and that was in Canada. A standout moment from that would probably be against Sweden. It was in the first maybe 5 minutes, and I just put this like killer ball through for Lisa, and she scored off it. And then I think we ended up drawing with Sweden, but we were the first team to then go through a knockout round. Anyway, that was later progressing the tournament, but that allowed us to get into the quarterfinals, the round of 16, which we then beat Brazil and got us through to the quarterfinal. And I think it's the first time an Australian soccer team, correct me if I'm wrong, has gotten through a knockout stage of a major tournament. So that was pretty cool. History-making team.
Yeah, cool. And how does your faith have an effect on the way you approach your football?
How did it affect? I feel like, if anything, I'm just like overall more joyous. Like Jesus is kind of like gives me this joy that most people don't really understand. So I feel like if even today I had a moment, it's just crazy. I've been playing for 15 years and I'm on my way out and I'm like, started just warming up before the training session. I'm running on the field, on the grass, because we normally train on synthetic. So when we train on the grass, it's like the sun was shining and I was just like, oh, thank you, Jesus. This is so awesome. Like, I get to do this. This is my job. So yeah, I think just being able to appreciate it maybe a little more. And for me, it's not so much like the game that I care about, but the people that I've sort of been around, been able to experience it with, and hopefully be able to sort of affect their life more, like going forward, like outside of football, in a positive way. Yeah, no, it's crazy actually. Like, I've been in the Matildas for 10 years now, and it has only been in the last 12 months to 24 months that I've really been able to engage with some of my teammates about Jesus, and it's like taken that long. Like, so it's pretty crazy, but this last year has been really awesome, with being able to sort of open that communication up. And yeah, I feel like most of it came down to because I got injured. It like opened up a platform really for me to sort of reach out to girls and say, hey, I'm going to do a bit of a prayer session if anyone wants to come. And I surprisingly got like 6 or 7 girls came to my room, and there was 2 other girls in my team who were Christians. So it was really cool to have the other ones there. They were like, we're just here to support you. Like, we don't know what this is. And yeah, by the end of it, everyone was kind of in tears. So that was really cool. Really cool.
And if you hadn't been a professional footballer, what would you have been doing?
Hopefully professional surfer. I would have been aiming for that. If I had started when I was younger, I would much prefer to be doing that, but that's all right. I'll take soccer.
Cool.
Laura, what does the can you say anything about what the future holds as far as your soccer career goes? Have you got any thoughts around the next few years?
Look, I thought I was retiring at the start of last year, but God had other plans. So yeah, I was really emotionally mostly and mentally done with it. And I guess that's what I felt like. God was really drawing me to the Matildas, and it's like, okay, like, just 6 more months, I'll do the training, I'll play the World Cup, and then I'll retire. And it was sort of, then I obviously got injured and I was like, well, I can't retire now. So I figure 1 more year, Olympics is the aim, finish on a high, end on Olympics, and then I'll walk away. But you just never know. I thought I was done. But you know what? If I hadn't have kept playing that 6 months, then I wouldn't have been able to have that opportunity to have like a prayer meeting with 7 of my teammates. So even though I got injured, which was hard, don't get me wrong, it was really hard. But yeah, I just had this weird peace about me. And yeah, so like girls were sort of crying around me because they were so distraught that I was having to leave. But I just, I had this bizarre Jesus-like peace about it. Like something will come of it, you know?
Cool. Well, we're gonna be thinking of you and praying for you over the next year or two until the
next year. 1 more year. And then Cam's demanding babies, so 1 more year.
All right. You got to listen to Cam. Hey, just a bit of a pivot away from soccer stuff. Can you tell us a bit about just more of your personal journey around faith and your life? Could you tell us a little bit about that? Go back as far as you feel like you need to go back.
Go back. I'll keep the early years brief, but I don't know how much of you guys know. I'm like the youngest of 5 kids. Grew up in a Christian family up in Brisbane. And really thought I had a grasp on faith. I got baptized when I was 13. I went through high school, Christian high school, Went to church every Sunday. I mean, permitting if soccer wasn't on or whatever, but part of youth groups, did the whole shebang. And it's funny how you think you know what faith is, or even as a teenager, I thought I was a good Christian and I was doing all the right things, but it really wasn't until I got to the wave where I was like, oh, this is what Christianity is. I was so focused on being a good kid, being a good girl, doing the right thing. And then when I would have hiccups of doing things that weren't biblical, whatever have you, I would then really struggle with my relationship with God. Like I would just go, oh, I can't come to him yet. Like I've been doing the wrong thing. I got to get right first, and then I can approach him. And there was even a time in my early 20s where I would still, pick up my Bible from time to time, at this point I was living in England and then living in America, and really not having that solid foundation or community was the biggest thing. And understanding as well. That was what hindered my walk. And I really just sort of drifted away. It kind of took a back seat, my faith did. And I just focused on doing soccer. I still had that core belief of being a good girl, and I was a Christian and doing the right things and stuff, but I just missed the memo on having a relationship with God. And that it didn't matter, not that it didn't matter what you do, obviously you want to be a walking example of Jesus, but for me, what I did actually kept me from Jesus. And I didn't understand really my true identity, and that when I read the Bible and when I read about Jesus, that's what was like a reflection of myself, And so the first day I went to the wave, I was sat next to Pri, and she was telling me about this Kingdom school, and I was like, yeah, I'm ready. I had the most rubbish year prior. I'd been dropped from the starting team at Orlando, and then halfway through the season, they wanted to get rid of me. So I was like, just wave me. I left there early. I just had the most terrible year. And God really put on my heart to go to Ocean Grove, because the year before I had lived in Torquay. And I finally ended up at Ocean Grove. Went to Kingdom night when I didn't have training, and it just kind of rocked me. It was that was the turning point for me, I think, of really accepting who I was, and it was a point where I came in and I was broken. I didn't tell myself, oh, I've got to have it all together and then I can go meet these people or go to church. I was like, you know what? I've got no hope of that. I'm just gonna go and see what happens. And I was just welcomed and embraced by pretty much all of you. I don't know who else is on this call, but I'm sure most of you are probably there. And yeah, just started really diving into who I am, and that I don't always have it together, but that no matter what, Jesus loves me, and it doesn't matter what I've done, I can always go to talk to him as a friend. So yeah, I don't know if that's enough.
Yeah, it's amazing. How would you describe the change since that time? You're in similar environments in sporting clubs, and you've had this kind of revelation, and things have changed for you. Well, is there anything that kind of changed there?
I now get excited to open the Bible, whereas before I'd be like, oh, I should do this, and I'd be sitting there and it'd just be words on a page that I didn't really understand. And to be honest, most of the time I still don't understand it, but I'm trying. I'm more open to it. And yeah, I feel coming here, understanding that my need for community. It's been hard being here so far. We've been to church once because there's no English speaking churches with within our town. So we drove last weekend over an hour to get to a church, and it was Anglican church, I think it was. So it was also very not what I'm used to, and it was very grey-haired, which I don't mind, but it makes it hard to really find genuine like friendships and bonds with people like what I have with you guys. So the change for me was choosing not to go overseas that in between year, and really like making you my community, and understanding that I actually need that in my walk, that I can share with people like things that are going on in my life and admit to wrongdoings, and like working through that kind of together, and having people that keep me accountable. So still working on that. Don't have that here yet. Still trying to find people who actually speak the same language, which has been really difficult. But thankfully, God's got Cam across the border. I have no idea how. I was like, you're not going to make it. It's not going to happen. You're going to get stuck in England. He flew from America to England because France's borders were closed completely to Americans. But God found a way, and Cam's been here with me, which has been an absolute blessing, because obviously doing life without your other half is pretty sucky. And it's been good to be able to get into the Word with him and stuff. So
cool.
That he's my community right now. So.
Very cool. Hey, so not many of us have been in professional sporting clubs, but most of us know what it's like to have that balance between being in a church community, but also having jobs and sporting clubs and being out there in the world. I'm just wondering if you could talk to that a little bit. Like, has there been times where it's been really has been difficult to hold your values, your faith, your morals and beliefs, like in those kind of environments? Is it tricky or?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's tricky for everyone leaving this safe space and then going out into the world. Like, I think what was really encouraging for me is having one of my teammates, they just like know that you're different, right? And I had a teammate out of the blue ask me before a game, can you pray for me? And I was like, what? Yeah, of course. Like, I'm getting a crossover. Like, I don't often get those times where obviously you're training or you're in the middle of work, so you're concentrating and you're doing your thing. But I think where people see the difference in me is like my positivity on the field, encouraging others. That sort of is probably the way I can really show Jesus and like love people, and being really genuine about my care for my teammates and asking how they're going and that kind of thing, which I think anyone can do. Just like love people. Doesn't matter what your job situation is, you can connect with the people around you in other ways, and just I don't know. It is challenging because obviously things can get pretty fiery and heated at training, everyone being competitive. So I'm not perfect, but I suppose that's how I can show that Jesus loves people, is by encouraging mostly and being really positive.
Awesome. Have you ever copped any flack for your faith in sporting clubs?
I probably caught not more flack. Well, when I was younger, I feel like I was ostracized because I was straight, more so than anything. Which is a whole other battle that I'm in amongst. For being, some of the girls have sort of, no, actually just one girl, I won't name names, but she's confronted me before on some of the Old Testament stuff about stoning people and that kind of thing, and basically ripping apart all the really negative things that are in the Bible and telling me why it's not okay. But yeah, I just try to, I guess, listen, because everyone is entitled to their opinion and their emotions and how they're working through stuff. But being able to I find if you go with a battle, like you kind of end up in this fist fight, and so I just kind of listen and then express how I feel, and that I think, the basis is love and loving each other, and that's what Jesus did, so that's what I want to do. Like, like just trying to not let it like affect me or let that negativity sort of bring me down, and just then end up praying for that person, to be honest.
Yeah, cool. Very cool.
But,
Love it. Love it. How do you go with, I guess sometimes success can be hard for people as well. You've had a lot of success in your career, and I can remember back to my very low level sporting career, and just feeling like really high when I've played a good game, and really low if I haven't. Like some of that identity stuff. Like how do you go with having success?
I haven't really thought about that too much, I guess. I'm like the type of person that's so in the moment that often I have to ask my teammates, do you know what the score is? Like, I don't even realize if I'm like losing or winning a game. I'm like, does anyone actually know anyway. So I tend to be very like in the moment, which apparently according to the sports psych is a good thing. But with success and failure, I mean, that's life. That's part of life. And I guess, how do I deal with success? It's weird. I have never really thought of myself as a successful person. That probably sounds ridiculous to some people, but like, because the cohort that I'm with, they're all doing the same thing. So I'm like, I'm no different or more special than any of these people, and that's who I do day to day with. So in my mind, it's like, oh yeah, I've been to a World Cup, but so has all of them. Like, so I don't know. So yeah. I don't really. Yeah, I don't think I really stop and think about that I have done that. What sticks in my mind is when I was like 15 and had never even represented the state team. I had a lady from my church who was like a massage therapist who told me and my mum that I would play for Australia. She's obviously a Christian lady. And she left, and mum and I were like, righto, like this lady's crazy. She's not that good. She won't make it, like being me. And my mum told me that she was like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe that this lady has just told my daughter, who lives and breathes soccer and loves it, she's going to go on to play for Australia. Like, what if she never does, sort of thing. But she stepped out in faith and said it, and said it boldly. I was like, okay, crazy lady. And it wasn't until like 10 years later I thought about it. I was like, oh my gosh, she totally prophesied over my life that I would play for Australia. And I'm like, if you put me in the rank of the people that I play with, like, I would not classify myself as a very good player. I'm like, the only reason why I'm here is because God put it over my life, and that's why I'm here. I'm like, yeah, that's really cool to think about like that, because I look at how I play and how other people play. I'm like, why am I getting picked? This doesn't make sense. But God has me there for a reason. So I try to, in the successes and failures, just sort of come back to why I'm there in the first place, and because God put me there. So
very cool. Very cool. Hey, just for those listening in, start popping some questions in the group chat. If you're interested to ask Laura anything. Next one, Laura. I heard a story, would have been like a year or two ago, when you were playing for Victory. A bunch of the crew from the Wave came up and watched you, and you're able to pray for one of the fans. Do you remember that?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Can you
I don't
tell
know
us
if it was a Victory game. I think it was a Matilda's game.
Oh, okay. Yeah, right.
I don't know, Greta, you were there. Anyway. That was really cool. So there's this one girl who, I only have one fan, it's her. She's like, she lives in Sydney, and she just loves me. And she writes to me every game, and like is always super encouraging and tells me she loves me. And I learned later that she's actually has Asperger's. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. But she's always said to me, like, you've been so nice to me since the day I met you. And I don't even remember the day I met her. Like, you just meet all these different people. But she flew to Melbourne to come to my 50th game. And I don't know why, if she was struggling with something. I don't know if Greta, if you can help me out. But yeah, all the crew there were like, oh, opportunity. I think Dino was like, can we pray for you? And we like prayed for her. It was I'm like crying at the end of the game like this. I just had the worst game of my life, by the way. It was like my 50th cap and I played atrociously. I think it was called off halfway through because of lightning. There was all sorts going on. But we got to pray for this girl and it was so cool.
Awesome.
That was the story. It was just Dino, I'm pretty sure.
May there be many more, hey? Awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Hey, if you could give, and like we've got a bunch of young people tuning in, or anyone who plays in sporting clubs, at being a believer in that environment, if you could give one bit of advice, what would it be?
I mean, I guess what I focus on is, like I said earlier, encouraging people and being positive. And that sets you apart and can open up doors to conversations and things. Yeah, that's probably it, because it can get really negative and really catty, or I don't know what it's like in boys' sports, but it's also there's a lot of influence on sexuality and impurity and all that. So being a light and sort of just being true to who you are. And actually another thing the girl said to me the other day was like, you never swear. And they notice it. Like, I was like, well, I try not to, but like, yeah. And this was in the first 3 weeks of being here. And you think you don't make an impact or that people don't notice, but they do. So just keep being that light. That's pretty.
Yeah, beautiful, awesome. We got one question come through, but keep them coming, guys. I'll get to that one in a second. What excites? Like you talked about Olympics, you talked about the soccer side of things. What excites you for the future?
Like beyond soccer?
Yeah, like what floats your boat?
Just kind of sort of the unknown. Like at this point, I don't know how many of you know, I married an American, don't know why, but it looks like we'll end up in America. And so I don't know, I just think that, wow, the journey that I've been on already, I'm 30, I feel like I'm old, but it's been like so crazy. I could never have predicted any of it. So I feel like the unknown excites me a little bit because I'm like, what's God going to do next? Okay, I definitely feel like I'm going to step away from playing because my body's about to implode. But I don't know, using those gifts and skills that I've learned in the last 10 years for the next chapter, whether that be being a mom or opening up a cafe or just like, I don't know, I'm excited to get settled in Southern California and really find a community that Cam and I can influence. And I think Cam has a real heart for sort of university age students, boys in particular. Yeah, they've got some interesting things going on in America with just basically around impurity and the way they treat women and stuff like that. And there's a lot of opportunity for, I guess, sex trafficking things. So I feel like it would be really cool to work with young girls or something. I really have no idea. I honestly, God, I'm just like, you know what? I can only look to the next few days and then, yeah, I could break my leg tomorrow. I don't know. But God's got it. So, yeah, just kind of exciting for whatever happens next. Doesn't matter, really. Just kind of being present and seeing where God takes me. I want to go live with Greta in Indo. I mean, I've been wanting to go there for years. Since I met her, I'm like, I'm going to come.
What do we need to do to get you back to the Grove? What's it going to take?
It's more about convincing Cam, I think. I love Grove.
Okay, cool. We'll work on it. Awesome, mate. Murray, did you have any last questions?
No, I think I was just going to throw it out to the group really to see if there's any, it's not really football related specifically, but I mean, you have travelled through your football. You've been really flexible in where you might be next. Like I think at the start of the year, you had a contract in Norway. COVID came around, you ended up in France, but yeah, you're obviously open to travel.
Yeah, And that's why I think meeting Cam was, it's so funny because when I played in America, I was like, no way am I going to date an American boy. Like, just wasn't even interested. It was like, God, do not send me an American. And then I get it that a year later, I leave America and I'm living in Ocean Grove and I meet an American. I'm like, this is okay. It's because I told him not to. He was like, I gotcha. So yeah, I think because of my past and having lived in different countries, I'm more open to being able to move. I mean, Murray, you would understand that, moving across the world to the one you love. And yeah, God has probably prepared me for this unsettled life that I've lived so far. So yeah, really open to living anywhere. Like, and Cam is too, which is super cool. Like, sometimes we joke about living in the Philippines or just doing mission work somewhere. Like, yeah, but just keep you posted. See what happens.
Cool.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. Thanks, Murray. Cool. Any last questions from anybody? Paul's got a ripping question to finish with. Okay, Cam, if you travel on a plane, does the team manager things paid for first class from Sam?
From Sam. Well, Sam, let me tell you, it's not that pretty. We travel economy. We have actually, to the World Cup, we got to travel in business class, but that's just because they're finally matching our requirements with the men. So the men always travel business class. So now the women, any flight over 5 or 6 hours, I think the rule is, we get to travel business class. So they are making an effort to make it more equal between men and women, which is cool to be a part of that movement as well, pushing for rights for women.
Cool.
So
Very
no,
cool.
Sam, unfortunately, I haven't travelled first class.
Great question. I love it.
That was good. And also around France, we don't even fly. We have to take buses and trains, and it's like 6 hours or something driving sometimes. I'm like, why are we not taking a plane? We go on a train with everyone, like the public. It's so weird. But anyway, I haven't done that yet. But the men fly though, just so you know. they're still working on their equality in France.
Yeah, Nick Wars just said Murray has some hints on traveling first class. So just have a chat with him about it. Hey, tell us about the team that you're playing for at the moment. Are they looking good for the season? Like, is there high hopes?
Yeah, I think last season they finished roughly mid-table, and the way it works in France is like the top 4 teams, I would say, are absolute jets. Like, they are like Lyon is number 1, and they're number 1 in the world. Like, they just won the Euros. Like, they have been on top for a very long time. They have a lot of money. And then it's sort of like the rest of the pack. So I think there's top 4, and then we're roughly 5th. So we're the better end of the rest of the pack, if that makes sense. But we only lost to Lyon 1-0 2 weeks ago, and they didn't score in regular play. They scored off of a corner. So and we didn't have our full strength side out. So things are looking good.
Awesome. Well, we hope that you can learn the language quick so you know what's going on at training.
I'm trying. I'm taking French lessons like twice a week. I'm doing Duolingo every day. Most of the thing I'm like, je ne comprends pas. Like, I don't understand. I'm really good at that now.
Hey, let's finish with this one. How can we be praying for you? When we're praying for you, what specific things can we pray for you about?
For general health, I've been already coming back. I've had a quad strain and my body's just getting old. So just general keeping my body fit and healthy so I can stay on the field. That Cam and I would find a community that we can really connect with. And that, I can have Jesus lead the way and open up some doors for conversations with my teammates. Be really probably those top three.
Okay, cool, awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been so cool to hear your journey in sport, but also faith, and you really blessed us. You really blessed us.
I'm just seeing Nick dancing. Yeah. Thanks, guys. I hope that wasn't too boring and that was things that you didn't know about me, but probably not for most of you.
No, it was. There's plenty of crew on there. So thank you very, very much. You're a legend.
So good to see all your faces.
Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed that. We just want you to know that we're praying for our community in this time. And if there's anything in this video that resonated with you, we'd love to connect with you more. Here's the ways that you can do that.